Welcome to my YouTube. We are reading The Collector. We are going to, I think it's, let me make sure, 41 through 45. And it is by K.R. Alexander. And I did fill out a paperwork for Scholastic. First time I ever done that. So I did get approved by Scholastic to read the book. So, yeah. It is a nice book. So basically I started doing this book with audio, but then people didn't finish the audio, so that's why I'm reading these chapters. Yeah, I definitely recommend it. It's really spooky and I love it. I don't read chapter books, but this one's really great. It's a great book. And then I will get permission from Scholastic to read The Collected afterwards, when I get there. So, yeah, enjoy the book. I am going to start reading. Chapter 41. Dinner smelled amazing, but I barely paid it any attention. As I raced down the steps and out the back door, Anna's note was crumbled in my pocket, and Mom's voice called out from behind me, but all I could focus on was the woods, and the witch, who had stolen Annie away. Mom might have followed me. I wasn't sure. I crashed through the trees and the twigs, stumbling and getting scratched, and it reminded me so much of my dream last night. Except there weren't any dolls chasing me today. I was chasing the dolls. Time seemed to stretch and snap. It felt like I had been running for hours, but I knew that couldn't be the case. Still, that didn't explain why it got darker with every footstep, and why in seemingly no time at all, the air around me was cold and windy, and the night sky heavy and clear and filled with a wicked moon. Magic. It had to be. It also had to be a sort of magic that propelled me forward. A magic that led me to the edge of the glade where Vanessa's house rested. That magic cut out the moment my foot landed on the first broken concrete slab of her sidewalk. I stopped there, panting, heavenly, staring out at the house. Lights glowed inside, and the moon hovered low overhead, but everything else was dark shadow. I could hear my mother calling my name, but it was too late. I knew the same magic that drew me in would prevent her from finding me here. The yard was still overgrown, like a nightmare, but the mannequins and the dolls were all gone. That made the hair on my neck stand on end. If the dolls weren't there, where were they? I had a feeling I already knew. It was then that I realized how stupid this was. It was late, or it seemed late, and I was here alone, facing off against an evil monster witch, which an army of dolls at her disposal. And all I had on my side was me. Just little old me, with no magic and no clue how to save Anna. Or myself. I should have brought my mom. I should have brought my grandma. I should have called the police, but I hadn't. And here I was, a terrible path before me, and no turning back. I clenched my fists. I wasn't going to run away from this. I was going to get my sister back. I was going to put an end to Beryl once and for all. For me, for Anna, for Grandma Jeannie. Slowly, I crept up to the front door, hoping that maybe they weren't expecting me, hoping I could surprise them through. I didn't know what I would do if I did. The door opened a crack, and the moment I neared, I heard a familiar voice. "Josie, you returned." I clenched my teeth and pressed my hand to the door. It was time to meet the monster. Chapter 42. Whew. Vanessa's house smelt like baking again. That was my first realization. My second was that everything in here had changed. At least the dolls had. Before they'd all been looking at the wall. Now they were all turned towards me. Just like in the dream, their eyes were crossed out and their mouths were open in slight screams, or near silent screams. Wind whistled through the door. Sounded like the wailing ghosts. A shadow shifted at the end of the hall, and I had my first true sighting of Beryl. I could tell she'd been a woman once. She was hulky and huge, filling up a whole hallway with her shadowy body. Her skin was wrinkled and pale in moonlight. Her eyes were white pits. Two clawed hands reached from the folds of her shadowy dress, her nails long and vicious. When she smiled, her teeth were all pointed like a wolf's. I held back the scream, even though I wanted to scream very, very badly. "Josie!" she gasped. Her smile widened. "Where is my sister?" I yelled. I cried to keep my voice from shaking, but it didn't work. "She's here. Home. You're home." With one gnarled finger, she gestured to the door beside me. I gulped. I walked over. Inside, on the sofa, were two life-size dolls. One was Vanessa. The other one was Anna! I yelled. I ran into the room and knelt by her side. There was nothing I could do, though. Her skin was porcelain and her eyes were glazed marbles. Her lips were painted in a smile, but I could tell from her eyes that she was shocked. "What did you do to her?" I demanded. Tears welled up in my eyes. "I brought her home," Beryl replied, "so she could be mine forever." "She's not yours," I said. "She's my sister. She's not yours." "She came to me," Beryl gasped. "She is mine now. Just like the other children are mine now. And there is nothing you can do to save her." No. There had to be a way to save them. I might not have magic, but I had my brain. I looked from Anna to Vanessa. Vanessa's doll wasn't wearing her necklace. The necklace! I jumped to my feet and picked up the Anna doll. She was remarkably light. I ran out of the room. Beryl howled in anger behind me. "No!" she wailed. "Bring her back!" I had to hope my dreams had been right, that I would find where I needed to go, that the necklace actually had power. I darted down the hall while Beryl chased after me, snarling like the beast she's become. I didn't look back. I knew that if I did, she'd catch me and I'd never escape or save anyone. There! I pushed open the door, then slammed it shut behind me. There was an old-fashioned deadbolt on it, and I locked the door just in time. Beryl thudded against it and howled again. "Come out of there!" she yelled. But we'd made it. I leaned Anna against the table and looked at my prize, Vanessa's necklace. It seemed to shine with its own light from where it rested in its glass case. I could almost feel the magic radiating from it. I knew there was what I needed to do. With the trembling hands, I pulled the necklace from the box and draped it over Anna's neck. There was a gust of wind and a whirl of lights, and I watched transfixed as Anna's body slowly turned back from a doll to a girl. "Josie!" she gasped. When the magic was complete, she fell into my arms and hugged me. "Anna, you're okay." But our relief was short-lived. Beryl pounded on the door, making books fall off the shelves. We didn't have much time before she broke in. "I have to save the others," I said, reaching for the necklace around Anna's neck. "No," she said. "If you take it off, I turn back into a doll." "What?" I felt the world falling down around me. If she couldn't take it off, I couldn't save anyone else. "Yeah, but I think there's a way," she said. The door shuttered again. We had to hurry," Anna went on. "I heard Beryl. The necklace holds the spell. The only way to break it is to make Beryl wear it. But then, I have to leave you as a doll." "It's the only way," she said. She took her hands and put them on the necklace. "Do it. I'll be fine. It doesn't hurt." I'm so sorry. I didn't believe you, I said, tears in my eyes. It's okay. You believe me now. You'll save me, I know it. Crying, I lifted the necklace off of her neck. I clenched the necklace tightly and turned to the door. Then I stepped forward and put my hands on the lock. It was time to end this once and for all. Chapter 43. I turned the lock and opened the door. Beryl floated against her robes, fluttering around like her wings. When she saw that I held the necklace, she snarled and reared back. What do you think you're doing? She growled. I'm ending this, I replied. That made her laugh. You have no power here. You can't save them. You are all alone, as you will always be alone. Her words cut through me. I'd felt alone this whole time, ever since I moved here. Only one person had made me not feel that way. What did you do to Vanessa? I asked. Why has she been helping you? You mean Victoria? She has no choice, just as you will have no choice. She's my servant, as you will be. It will be my greatest revenge for all your grandmother had done to me. She stepped forward, but I reached my hand up with the necklace, and she flinched back. I know your secret. This is how you control them. But if you wear it, your magic breaks. They'll be free. I expected her to howl in fear. Instead, she started laughing. Perhaps. But if you destroy my powers, every doll will return to their real age. And your dear friend Vanessa will be an old lady. If she even lives. But if you join me, you could be her friend forever. Otherwise, you'll stay lonely until the end of time. That made me pause. Saving everyone might mean Vanessa became an old lady, or it could kill her. Could I do that? Then I remembered hearing her crying the other day. Then I'd snuck up to the house and I realized that yes, she would want to be free, no matter the cost. She wanted everyone else to be free as well. I also knew that I would never get close enough to Beryl to put the necklace on her. I had to lure her in. Sighing, I bowed my head. You're right. Can't do this. I can't do it. I don't want to be alone anymore. Beryl laughed. Don't worry, Josie. This will only hurt a bit. She reached out and grabbed my shoulder, reaching for the necklace, and then, before she could take it from me, I sprung into action and looped the chain around her neck. She screamed in the moment I touched her skin. The whole house shook and the wind burst through the windows, whipping curtains and knocking over lamps, lights flashing and shadows swirled. I stepped back in horror as Beryl whirled and screamed like a tornado, collapsing in on herself. Only moments later, she was nothing more than a pile of black dust and a necklace covered in soot. Josie! Anna whispered from behind me. A girl, not a doll. Anna! I yelled. I turned and gave her a huge hug. Is it over? She asked. It's over, I replied, squealing her tight. Everything's gonna be fine now. Josie, came from another voice, weaker, older, but I still recognized it. Vanessa. I took Anna's hand and ran into the living room. Vanessa was there, on the sofa, in the space. The moment she had aged, she was wrinkled, and her skin was gray. Vanessa! I ran over and knelt at her side, taking her hand. As always, her skin was cold. She looked so old, but when she looked at me, her eyes were just as youthful as before. You did it, she said. She squeezed my hand, but her grip was weak. You saved us. Thank you. But I couldn't save you. Not really. Tears were beginning to form. It's okay, Josie. I've been under Beryl's command for far too long, and if I had terrible things, I am sorry I couldn't tell you the truth. Her magic prevented it. I can finally rest now. She took a deep, rattling sigh. I'm just glad Beryl's evil has ended. She looked at me and smiled, her eyes filled with tears. And that after all these years I knew what friendship felt like again. Tell Gina goodbye for me, will you? I nodded, and with another sigh, she closed her eyes. If I pretended, it was almost looked like she was sleeping. Meanwhile, in the hall there was a sound of voices, of running and shouting, tears and laughter. I heard footsteps racing down the hall. But I didn't go to see them. Anna stood by my side, holding my hand as we watched my friend slowly vanish into the cloud of dust and stars. By the time we got into the hall, all the other children had disappeared, like us. They didn't want to stay here any longer. They had to. Chapter 44. Local children who had been missing for days or years had found their way home. I watched it on the news, saw their tears-filled reunions with family and friends. It made me feel a little better to know I'd helped so many people, but I was still sad over losing Vanessa. Anna and I had walked home hand in hand after the terrible night. She hadn't needed to sleep in my bed again. Both of us stopped having nightmares. Grandma Jeanie was feeling better, lots better. She started having sun tea on the back porch with us again, and she didn't seem to look at Woods with as much fear. Together, she and Anna and I had buried the magical locket and Vanessa's doll in our backyard. Grandma even did a little spell over the burial site to keep it hidden and safe. Anna asked me over and over if Clara's name had appeared on the news, but it never did. Maybe, like Vanessa, she'd been given a different name, or maybe not. There was no way for us to know. Going back to school was hard without Vanessa. Everything seemed a little off. At least no one was leaving scary notes on my locker. It made me wonder, had everyone known about Vanessa and her tie to Beryl? Maybe my grandmother had been the only one warning kids away from the woods. Maybe everyone else had just been trying to keep me and the new girl, who didn't know better, safe from a threat. Slowly, I started to make some new friends. Karen and Charlie, the kids who had been recently turned into dolls, started hanging out with me at lunchtime. We never spoke about what happened. We didn't need to. Honestly, I thought everything had gone back to normal, or at least as normal as things could be out here. Anyway, I even began leaving my window open at night to let the cool breeze in. There weren't any whispers or monsters calling my name. It was nice to feel like a normal kid again, not worrying about magic or dolls or witches. Things were finally going to be okay. Alrighty, Chapter 45. It was a little less than 2 weeks after I defeated Beryl. "Josie," Mom called out, "time for breakfast." I curled the sheets tighter around me. Monday. I didn't want to go to school. We had a quiz in science today. Maybe 5 more minutes of sleep. Beep, beep, beep. My alarm clock started blaring. I reached over to turn it off. My hand bumped into something. Slowly, I opened my eyes. I tried to make my vision adjust. I couldn't believe what I saw. There was a doll on my nightstand. A doll that looked an awful like Beryl. That is the end of chapter 45. Thank you guys for listening.